I'm Eleanor. Welcome to the Monday Night Dharma Talk and Meditation. Our guest teacher tonight is going to be Kevin Griffin, who will be leading us in a meditation in just a minute. And then the evening will unroll from there. So make yourselves comfortable. Here we go.
That's it, huh? Geez, I thought that Eleanor would talk about what a fabulous teacher I am and how devoted to me she is, but I guess I'll just have to take what I get. Um, I am Kevin, and um, I was hoping to be there this weekend. I had actually scheduled myself to be up at Mountain Stream this weekend, but I have some knee surgery and decided that traveling was not going to be wise. So I am in recovery in more ways than one. So welcome everyone. And we will do about a 30-minute meditation. And what I typically do, I didn't consult with the powers that be, but I hope they will approve of this, is that I typically guide for about half the time. So give some instruction and guidance and meditation, and then leave about half the second half for people to just work with their own practice, so they're not having to be pestered by my voice the entire time. So I shall do that. Um, yeah, I guess I'll talk more. I am certainly going to talk more afterward, but just would like to, I'll say a few things about Mountain Stream and my relationship to it as well. But I think it's great if we just start with meditation. How many people are actually in the hall right now? Is it possible to know? Just curious.
There's 20, Kevin.
Oh,
So
okay. Super. All right. Wonderful. All right. So wherever you are, however you are, to just settle in to your posture. You want to be sitting, if you can, sitting upright. It's perfectly okay to take another posture if your body needs or wants that. But typically we sit upright, and you can close your eyes or just lower your gaze, however you are comfortable in meditation. And even in that first moment of closing the eyes, there's a reorientation, feeling the body, and perhaps the alignment and posture a little differently. So maybe taking a little more time now to adjust how you're holding your body. We don't want to be rigid. We're trying to achieve some ideal meditation posture we might have seen. At the same time, we do want to have a kind of balance and alignment if we can find that. How we hold the body really has an effect, a strong effect on the mind, on the mental states, ability to be attentive, clear-minded. And then just taking some time to feel the body, and as well as the current sort of mood or mind state. The end of a Monday can have a particular tone. If you've been working a lot or been stressed, or maybe you're relaxed and ready for meditation, just just to check in how you are as the sitting begins. And letting the attention then come to rest on the breath. Uh, Feeling the breath in the body, not trying to block out anything, just to feel the body breathing. You might pick out the sensations at the nostrils, touch of air moving in and out, or you can just feel the movement of the belly, the chest, rising and falling. Whatever is a natural way for you to just feel the body breathing. And it's natural when we try to pay attention to something as undramatic as the breath. The mind wanders. The mind looks for some stimulation or grabs onto some stream of thought that has been in the background. So our practice begins at least with noticing when the mind wanders and gently coming back to the breath. Well, this process itself can be quite revealing. Noticing what the habitual thoughts are, noticing the persistence of thinking, maybe becoming aware of what's behind that, some emotion, some mood. And just again, coming to the breath, not judging or analyzing what's happening, just seeing clearly. And we train the mind to return, to let go and to return over and over without pressure, without judgment. Just a gentle rhythm, leaning into presence. In the moment of seeing a thought, even before we return to the breath, it can be helpful to notice feelings that are aroused by the thinking process, by whatever we're thinking. Here's where we see the dukkha, the stress or suffering of the mind always restlessly searching somewhere to land, something to resolve, never quite finding that. So as we see how the mind works, we're more motivated to let go. See that there is no final answer, some solution that the mind will provide. And that in fact it is in letting go that we find peace, even if only for a few moments. And so it is the subtle underlying feeling that we can bring into awareness to help us to let go. All right. We're going to have about a 5-minute bio break. I don't know if anybody needs to make an announcement other than that. Right, get up and stretch your legs. Use the restroom if you need to, and I shall return to give a talk in 5 minutes.
Hi, Kevin. I think you're over there, but you're really over there. And so it's disorienting. And I just went back and looked at the screen. Who's on the Zoom call? I want to welcome all the people that are there. Some faces I recognized and names, and same in the room. I'm glad to be here talking about Kevin. Kevin is a teacher who I have listened to for more than a decade. He's guided my practice and he's guided my recovery.
Hmm.
I think very highly of him. I'm going to read a blurb. It says right
Cool.
here, Kevin Griffin is the leading proponent of integrating Buddhist teachings and practices into the process of recovery from addiction. For over 2 decades, his books, teachings, and leadership have set the tone for what is now known as Buddhist recovery. The co-founder of the Buddhist Recovery Network, he has authored 6 previous books and has taught across North America as well as Ireland and the UK. So that's the official introduction. Is that better, Kevin?
That was nice. I actually wrote that myself, so
I
of
know.
course I like that.
I thought you might recognize that you
Passing
wrote
it
that.
like writing about yourself in the third person, it's always
Um,
awkward.
and so I'm hoping Kevin will deliver a Dharma talk that will illuminate the path for us tonight and going forward. And then you'll have a question to time to ask your questions and grill him on what he really meant. So
Yeah,
pay attention. Okay, go.
beautiful. Thank you, Eleanor. You're very dear to me, as you know. And I first I want to just thank Mountain Stream for inviting me and really just acknowledge how fortunate you all are to have such a lovely place. I've been there to teach in the past and to have a community outside of an urban area. There aren't many uh, like that I know of that have such a wonderful both physical space and spiritual energy. And John Travis, the founder, is a dear friend, and he and Heather Sundberg, who has also been one of your important teachers, the 3 of us taught together at Spirit Rock 15 years ago, the only time Spirit Rock has ever had a Buddhist recovery residential retreat. So I've always been grateful for that support from them and their friendships. So I'm delighted to be able to visit even uh, online, and I do hope that I'll be able to come up before too long. I'm actually recovering rapidly from my knee surgery, but it's going to be winter up there, and I don't believe in winter anymore. I lived in Vermont, so I've had my fill. Um, so okay, enough prelude. What I want to talk about, I'm going to start by talking about, and really, I mean, this is going to be my main theme, is a line from one of the suttas that I I am particularly devoted to this line, and as with all great spiritual and religious texts, uh, we find these gems and we work them over, we mull them over, like a cow with its cud, chew them over sometimes for years and keep extracting more nutrients from them. Take that. I want to take that simile too much further. That's enough. And so this is a short passage from the famous sutta called the Simile of the Saw. And it's actually, I have a book called Living Kindness, which is, as it suggests, an exploration of the loving kindness practice, but kind of taking a different slant on the typical approach to it. And one of the chapters is on this sutta. The sutta itself is one worth exploring if you're ever interested in the 21st, number 21 in the Majjhima Nikaya, Simile of the Saw. And several times through the sutta, it returns to a similar phrasing that from this, what I'm going to read. It appears multiple times. But I believe this last time that it appears in the sutta is the only one that contains this entire passage. So I'm going to first just read it to you, and to say that this is in reference to how we should handle anger or any kind of hostility we feel towards someone. And the Buddha says, you should train thus. And he's speaking to a group of monks, so he uses the first person plural. You should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected, and we shall utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness without inner hate. We shall abide pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness, and starting with them, we shall abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So it's a very rich and beautiful instruction on how we should respond to any harm that someone has done to us, or any resentment or anger we have towards someone. And first of all, just to note that the Buddha really expresses over and over that anger of any sort is destructive, and he sort of doesn't give us any leeway on that. It's another one of those stances he takes that's so challenging. I think very few of us can live up to the standards that the Buddha sets around this issue, and of course there are others that are hard to live up to. But that doesn't mean they aren't worthy of reflection and certainly striving. So there's a lot that I can say about this passage, and I'm going to go through it little by little. But first of all, I'm going to put it in the singular. Because the way I work with this passage is that I repeat these words to myself, and I say to myself, my mind will remain unaffected, and I shall utter no evil words. And then I add my own passage, my own little phrase, that after saying, I shall utter no evil words, I say, and I shall harbor no unwholesome thoughts, because this, as I'm doing this as part of my meditation, which is how I use it, I'm in my mind. I'm not with somebody that I would say anything to, and ultimately this is where I want to get to, right? To not only not utter evil words, but also not harbor the evil thoughts. So just to start with this phrase, my mind will remain unaffected. I'm going to train a mind that is unaffected. And this is a mind that is equanimous. This term equanimity that the Buddha uses, which is really considered the highest form of emotional or mental state. We see equanimity as the fourth of the Brahmaviharas, the divine abodes, is the seventh of the seven factors of enlightenment. It's also the fourth of the four jhanas. So we see it's the last one. It's like the pinnacle of many different teachings. And what it implies is a mind that is undisturbed by pleasant stimuli or unpleasant stimuli, or indeed neutral stimuli. But we can see that this is, again, a great challenge to not be drawn to pleasure and to not be repulsed by pain, but to be able to be unaffected, to be equanimous. But again, I find this a really helpful orientation to try to maintain this mind of balance, this undisturbed. And I shall utter no evil words, nor harbor unwholesome thoughts. And so then what we see in this phrase is that, as literature, it's got this rhythm, this repetitive rhythm that builds. So it goes on. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare with a mind of loving kindness. So first of all, we're starting with trying to, in terms of the four great efforts, we're trying to, first of all, avoid the unwholesome. We're trying to avoid getting trapped in anger. My mind will be unaffected. I shall utter no evil words, nor harbor unwholesome thoughts. So that's the beginning point. But then I'm going to try to arouse something. So this is another one of the four great efforts. I shall abide compassionate for their welfare with the mind of loving kindness without inner hate. So abiding compassionate for their welfare, compassion is a really important practice and teaching to reflect on. What it means, of course, is to feel and care about. It means to care about, not necessarily to feel, but to care about another person's suffering. And if we see someone heading towards suffering, to maybe try to help them and to not want them to suffer. If we see someone that's suffering, that we might try to help them. But as a meditation, it's a reflection on caring. And the way that we can draw upon this, particularly in circumstances like that are being suggested here. So the simile of the saw, to go back a little bit, the simile is the Buddha says, even if bandits were to savagely to sever you savagely limb by limb with a two-handled saw, one who gave rise to a mind of hate toward them would not be carrying out my teaching. So, okay, another very high standard. But toward them, we should feel compassion. And why should we feel compassion for somebody who's doing this harm? Well, by Buddhist principles, if they are harming others or you, they are creating negative karma for themselves. They are planting the seeds for their own destruction. And so if we see that clearly, even though we are going to we might try to stop them from that, but in our hearts, we understand that they are going to suffer for their deeds. And so because we are being, inspired, guided to feel compassion, we actually, even as they're doing harm, we actually care about that harm. We want them to not do this harm that's going to create suffering for them. But this is one of the ways we can cultivate and evoke compassion for people that we might really struggle with feeling anything positive towards. And I think sometimes, particularly with difficult people or the enemy, as it calls it in the text, compassion might be more accessible than loving kindness itself. Okay, So my mind will remain unaffected. I shall utter no evil words. I shall abide compassionate for their welfare with a mind of loving kindness without inner hate. Now here's the Buddha is doing something that he does repeatedly, which I find so interesting. And I draw a lot out of it. I don't know if it's there, but I don't. I take very seriously the words of the Buddha as we know them, and I'm very curious about them. So, on the one hand, we shall abide compassionate for their welfare with a mind of loving kindness. Well, then why does he then say without inner hate? Because it would seem like if I'm compassionate and my mind has got loving kindness, I wouldn't have to worry about inner hate. But my reading of that is that the Buddha understands that even when we are cultivating loving kindness, there is this tendency of the mind, the tendencies of the mind to go to the unwholesome. And particularly in this situation where you're, trying to offer compassion and loving kindness to someone who's done you harm, then it's very easy to slip into that. And again, so I feel like the Buddha has this very broad view, and he doesn't have these unreasonable expectations. It's like he really understands human nature, and he knows, anybody who's done a loving kindness meditation for any period of time has run into these obstructions in the mind that I'm trying to send loving kindness to someone, but then the negativity slips in. And so the Buddha is just reminding us that's okay, that's normal. Now let it go. And again, it points to the four great efforts. So I better now define all four great efforts. The four great efforts are the effort to avoid unwholesome states that have not yet arisen. So don't get into trouble in the first place. The second great effort is to abandon unwholesome states that have arisen. Okay, the feelings have come up, the negative thoughts have come up, let it go. Then the third great effort is cultivate unarisen wholesome states. So you're in a neutral state. Now I'm going to try to cultivate loving kindness. And then the fourth one is to maintain arisen wholesome states. Okay, I've got loving kindness going. I'm going to try to keep it going. So here, again, we have, I shall abide compassion for their welfare with a mind of loving kindness. So this is cultivating the loving kindness and compassion. And then without inner hate, that's the abandoning of the unwholesome or the avoiding of the unwholesome. Now he continues, I shall abide pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. So it sounds like he's saying the same thing over and over here. And again, this is why we have to investigate a text like this very carefully and reflect on what's happening. So first of all, I want to go to this word abide. It's already shown up, but it shows up a couple more times. And the word abide is one that suggests a resting in or a living in. An abode is a place where we live. So if we're abiding, I'm abiding with my mind like this. This is not just like something that I visit. This is where I live. Let's put it that way. I try to live in this place, rest in this place. We shall abide pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. So what I see happening is that he's intensifying this energy, intensifying this level of care. Where previously we abided compassion for their welfare with a mind of loving kindness. Now I abide pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. So this language now starts to point to something that I really love about Buddhist meditation, which is when we become completely absorbed in a state. So this is really what happens with deep concentration states, with deep loving kindness states. When we're fully present with the breath, there's a sense of just where the whole body and mind is filled with this state. It's abiding, it's calm, it's settled, and it's full. It's not just like you're meditating on the breath at your nose, or you're just repeating some words in your head. You feel it throughout your body. Shall abide pervading them, and the mind imbued with loving kindness. So being imbued means that it's saturated with it. So it's not just that you're sending loving kindness, but you're completely, this is who you're completely, how you are completely absorbed in loving kindness. And then he takes this idea that you're pervading this individual in this way, and then starting with them, I shall abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So again, he keeps raising the stakes, right? Starting with just this individual and just offering them, trying to be unaffected and, not saying anything bad. But then I'm going to try to abide compassionate with the mind of loving kindness. And now I'm going to pervade them. And now I'm going to pervade everything with that. It gets this very full and sense of totality. Again, this sense of absorption and being pervaded by this quality. Uh, I'll note that this phrase, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, was the title that Ajahn Pasanno used for his own book on loving kindness, one that I recommend. It's based on a loving kindness retreat he taught some years ago. You can download it for free from the Abhayagiri website, and a lovely reflection on loving kindness, a lot of great stories and instructions, some sutta teachings. But this phrase now takes this. So I shall abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness. And then we're given this image of the power and pervasiveness of loving kindness, abundant, exalted, this very high teaching, immeasurable, just boundless. But then again, he does the same thing he did earlier, the protecting the back door without hostility and without ill will, Um, so this passage to me contains a great deal, as you can see. It contains the teachings on equanimity, compassion, loving kindness. It contains teachings on right effort, and it contains teachings on how to meditate, because this is what's being implied here, that abiding the all-encompassing world, pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness. So this is pointing to something that I think is really important in our practice, because I think that sometimes meditation becomes a kind of exercise, sometimes a mental exercise. Like it's just like, oh, my breath, thoughts, and we're just kind of ping-ponging back and forth between those, and losing the more, I keep coming back to this word, pervasive effect that we want from meditation. And so this reminds me of another teaching that I want to bring in to expand on this idea of meditation being more than a mental exercise. And this is from another sutta, so it's going to take us off in another direction, but we're going to wind up back here, I hope. So this is a sutta from the Samyutta Nikaya called Rohitassa. And Rohitassa is a deva, which is a kind of angel, I think of them as. They're sometimes called God. They live in the God realms, but they're not. They seem to be non-physical creatures that nonetheless have consciousness and the ability to speak because they interact with the Buddha. And Rohatasa comes to the Buddha and asks him if there is a way to get to the end of the world where one is not born, does not age, does not die, does not pass away. Can one, by traveling, to know or to see or to reach the end of the world where there is no birth and death? And the Buddha said, no, there isn't. And Rohatasa likes that because Rohatasa tells us that in a previous lifetime, he'd had this power to travel everywhere, and he traveled everywhere and he found that he couldn't come to the end of the world. Well, this sounds kind of abstract in a way, right? But this is what the Buddha says that where I think we start to see what he's really talking about. He says, okay, I say that without having reached the end of the world, there is no making an end to suffering. This is what the Buddha says. If you don't come to the end of the world, you can't make an end to suffering. And yet he's already said that you can't travel there. You can't go there, right? It is, friend, in this fathom-high carcass, endowed with perception and mind, that I make known the world, the origin of the world, the cessation of the world, and the way leading to the cessation of the world. The world's end can never be reached by means of traveling through the world, yet without reaching the world's end, there is no release from suffering. Therefore, truly, the world knower, the wise one, gone to the world's end, fulfiller of the holy life, having known the world's end at peace, longs not for this world or another. So where I want to point you to is it is just in this fathom long, or here it's translated fathom high carcass. So I've heard it translated as fathom long body, that I know. And then he makes, when he says, I make known the world, the origin of the world, the cessation of the world, and the way leading to the sensation, that's the Four Noble Truths. So we could put it this way. It is just in this fathom long body that I come to know suffering, the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, and the way to the end of suffering. So what I infer from this is that when the Buddha talks about the world, he's talking about our own mind and body, is that we contain the entire world in a sense. And in practical terms, actually, our whole experience of the world is in this mind and body, right? Anything that we see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or think is only happens through our own mind and through our own body. And so to say, I am pervading the all-encompassing world with the mind of loving kindness, one way of understanding that is to say that I am pervading my own body and mind with the thought of loving kindness, with the feeling of loving kindness. And we can see this paralleled in the teachings on concentration, absorption, where the Buddha says that one should steep one's mind, one should saturate one's mind in these states that are the foundational states of absorption, which are joy and happiness, tranquility, equanimity. We're doing the same thing with loving kindness. So this is what I'm really want to leave you with in terms of a practice teaching. And that is, as you meditate and if you're doing loving kindness meditation, or even just breath and body meditation, that you have a sense of letting the whole experience of what's happening to you pervade your whole body. So as you breathe, it's not just that you're breathing here, but that you're breathing through the body. That as you feel into your experience, as you settle, as you start to abide in calm and concentration, that you feel this throughout the body. And if you're doing loving kindness meditation, that you can actually imagine this. It's a useful visualization to imagine that you're pervading this loving kindness through your, up to your head, down to your body, down to your, through your body, down to your feet, throughout your body. So this corresponds to, and something that I often use in my meditation on loving kindness, which is the phrases from the Sutta on loving kindness: radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will. So here is the Buddha's instruction on practicing loving kindness. And if we interpret the term world as being this is the world as I know it, then when I say to myself, radiating kindness over the entire world, I see it as this process of pervading my own body and mind, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies. So just upward to the top of my head. I do this in very practical terms. Downward to the depths, and I get to, okay, it's down all the way through my body to my toes. Outward and unbounded, then I think of almost out my arms, across my chest, my whole body filled with loving kindness. So this teaching from the simile of the saw operates on all these levels, right? It encourages us first to abandon hatred, to cultivate compassion for those who are acting unwholesomely, to develop a mind that's imbued with loving kindness, and then not only to give it to them, but to give it to ourselves and to give it to the whole world. And to see that there is this balance of effort within this process, where on the one hand, I am cultivating wholesome qualities, and on the other hand, I am abandoning unwholesome qualities, and that I am sensitive to and tuned in and aware of these things happening, so that I don't get um, caught up, like as can happen. I'm just focusing on loving kindness, and I don't notice that in the back of my mind there's this churning negativity. Right, this is like a key Buddhist challenge, which is to really see the underlying biases and tendencies and watch all of that. So that's the teaching on right effort, is one that's really asking us to be aware on all these levels of the wholesome, the unwholesome, the cultivating, the abandoning. So I think that's it. I think that's what I have to say tonight. I hope that's of benefit and of use to you. And I'm more than happy to take any questions or comments if there's anyone either in the hall or in the virtual hall. So thank you. Thank you for your attention.
So for those of you on Zoom, you can use the emotion icon thing and raise your hand, or the reactions icon, or wave and we'll try and see you. And if you're in the hall, then Jen or Adam will bring you the microphone.
A question in the hall?
Okay.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. I wanted to understand, I think there was kind of a giggle in the room when you talked about meditating. Seems to be us focusing on our breath at the nose and then watching thoughts come in and then going back to the breath in the nose.
Yes, I call it meditating from the neck up.
Yeah. And I ask for a little more of guidance from you about how you spoke about kind of holding in your body
Mhm.
this. I mean, I sort of almost want to accidentally call it a prayer, but that may be not quite kosher.
Yeah. Well, now you're really mixing your religions here.
I know we're all over the map, but I think you get my question.
Of course.
Thank you.
Well, no, well, I get the part about what you mean by prayer, but I'm not sure I get the question. I don't want to jump to
Well,
conclusions.
so I really do. So in the, kind of in the felt sense of meditating, and
Yeah.
I am watching my breath, and then
Mhm.
again, I am watching my thoughts.
Hmm.
Do you sort of take yourself by the hand and say, let's do a body scan, and then you
Hmm.
sort of integrate this. I didn't quite get the whole.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Thank you. I thought that was where you were going, but I just wanted to make sure. This is kind of really where I'm emphasizing it more than ever these days, and I'm actually writing about this. What I call the felt experience, not a particularly original phrase, but and and it is difficult and subtle to explain how to practice in that way. So it's easy to teach meditation as an exercise of paying attention to the breath, noticing when the mind wanders, and coming back to the breath. And and when people are beginning to practice, that's enough. That's a difficult thing to do, easy to explain, but difficult to do. However, it ultimately doesn't capture the the fullness of what meditation I think needs to be. And I will say, when I say this needs to be, in my experience, it needs to be more embodied, yes. And yet, about this is the tricky thing about it, because the felt experience that I'm talking about, which which is about connecting in a more complete way the body with our meditation. It is not just a mindfulness of the body. It is combining mindfulness of the body with the more subtle feeling tone that I would consider pre emotion, or Jack Kornfield calls this primary emotion, whereas something like anger or grief would be anxiety. Those would be secondary emotions. But before those emotions arise, there are subtle energies, is another term for it. And so we tune into the energetic state, the felt state in the body. And this is rather than, yes, having the attention be always from the neck up. It is more in the body, in the heart center, in the belly, but it's not just physical. And this is where this is not really a beginner meditation, but I know many of you people at Mountain Stream are experienced meditators, and when the mind starts to get quiet and we start to settle, I experience that as actually more of a physical experience. When people talk about concentration, they make it sound like the mind is zeroing in on this one thing. But I think samadhi itself tends to be more embodied. And so that's what I'm aiming toward. Um, Unfortunately, it's really difficult to talk about. So uh, I think you're understanding that I am pointing at something different, and it is partly this idea of when we say pervading the all-encompassing world, and thinking pervade. Well, how can I pervade something in through my whole body? Well, I've got to be connected with my whole body, but that what we're pervading in this case is not a physical thing, right? It's loving kindness. So That's why it's a combination of a feeling experience with an embodied feeling, we could say. Whew. One of the problems with this whole topic is that the word feeling in English refers to both emotions and sensations. And what I'm talking about is a kind of combination of of raw emotions with physical sensations.
Okay. Another question in the hall.
Great.
Hi, Kevin. My name is Douglas, and I really enjoyed your teaching tonight.
Thank you.
And, I'm going to kind of continue in the vein that Jen was going to. And we use, and you use this word, and the Buddha maybe too, loving kindness. And so I'm kind of wondering, where is the reservoir of loving kindness that we imbue our body with, and allow that to pervade our bodies and the whole world? um yeah
Where is it?
yeah, where is this reservoir, and how did we tap into it and let it pervade our
Yeah.
body?
Well, it doesn't exist in space, so it's kind of like trying to find the end of the world. Um, the one of the kind of principles of Buddhism is that when the unwholesome is abandoned, when the five hindrances, for example, are cease to disturb us, that what's there in it, in our kind of primal form, is a quality of kindness or caring that we don't have to invent or import loving kindness, but that it's actually quite natural to us, and that it is in fact what's unnatural is the fear, anger, grasping that so often runs us. And natural isn't maybe the best word, because all those things are natural. They all occur in a natural process. But the point is that when we calm the mind, when we let go of those unwholesome qualities, what we find underneath, just self-existent, is a good faith form of kindness, a caring. Now, that's maybe not true for, sociopaths and the like, narcissists, or the various forms of, psychotic states. But in an ordinary person, this is the principle. So we don't, I don't love the idea of I'm going to try to generate loving kindness. I find that to be just counterproductive in a way. It's like I'm not going to think of a pink elephant. It's just immediately sort of doesn't click. What I think is more helpful is to quiet the mind and then see if there is something accessible to you. So one of the terms I like is inclining the mind. So you might incline the mind toward loving kindness when it gets quieted down. But if the mind is really busy, it's not to say you couldn't, repeat loving kindness phrases, but that's going to be more of a concentration practice. And it has to be done very carefully, so it's not done with aversion, like, oh, I don't like what's in my mind, I'm going to say all these nice words to myself. that can chip away, but it's just as likely to create kind of a backlash in the mind of don't tell me what to do. It's kind of what happens to my mind when I start trying to force in some wholesome quality when I'm really not in that place. Uh, so I think it's really more a matter of just practicing, uh, samatha, the tranquility practice, enough to soften the heart, breathe into the heart, and then incline the mind. I mean, you'll note that on meditation retreats, when I first started to take retreats, they didn't teach loving kindness until the end of the retreat. And that was because we were ripe for it then. Our minds were ready for it then. And again, I mean, it can be done as a formal, okay, I'm just going to do these words, but it's not the same thing. It still depends upon things getting quieted down enough for that quality to blossom out of the quiet, out of the stillness.
I like that phrase, blossom out of the stillness.
Mm.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone on Zoom want to say anything? I got a couple more minutes before we can wrap it up with some metta practice.
Any questions here in the hall, or comments, or reflections, or anything at all? Oh, here's one. All right.
Howdy, my name is Sirgyan. It meant so much to me what you shared tonight. And the thing that touched me the most is a way of accessing the whole world, being relating to my whole body from head to toe. And I just felt all this love when you said that. And I knew it wasn't just talking about the physiology of the body, but a way of accessing that I haven't accessed before, a sense of connecting to the whole world and the universe and the infinite. That starting with my body makes it tangible enough to really be able to feel something huge that I hadn't experienced before you said that.
Yeah.
And just being in your presence, I just started crying and crying in the beginning. So I knew that something was happening that was beyond words and beyond any description. So I thank you so deeply for what you shared tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad that landed and touched you. It is interesting that these teachings, they are real and they speak to something real.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are ready to hear them, then something can open up quite suddenly. And what's then really beautiful in this practice, and we can do this in just a moment, is to then, after filling the whole body and having a sense of that fullness, of realizing that the limits of my consciousness are not my body, that my consciousness is unbounded, as the phrase goes. It's immeasurable, it's abundant, exalted, immeasurable, that it's possible for me to imagine and hold in my mind the whole world and to radiate kindness in that way. So this is one of the most uplifting and inspiring practices that we can do in Buddhist meditation. So I think that if there, do we need to have an announcement at the end, because I'll lead a little bit of metta.
What we usually do is we do some metta and dedication of merit, and then we have the announcements after that. So it would be
Okay.
really beautiful if you could lead us in some
Yeah.
boundless loving
Yeah.
kindness.
Okay. Well, I'm going to use the phrases that I've already used, and let's just begin by taking a couple of mindful breaths, bringing the attention back into the body, to whatever you're feeling right now. And perhaps there are some feelings you've been having lately that, unwholesome feelings towards certain beings in the world. And just listening to these words and letting them be in your own mind. That my mind will remain unaffected, and I shall utter no evil words, nor harbor unwholesome thoughts. I shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. I shall abide pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. When starting with them, I shall abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, without ill will. And then letting the words, the Metta Sutta, move through you, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outward and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards the skies and downwards to the depths, outward and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will. May all beings be free from suffering. All right. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Mountain Stream. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, Robin. All the people that are keeping the center going. Beautiful.